Hollywood's most eloquent activist heroes stepped onto the set of The Ellen Show, expecting a simple interview, but it spiraled into one of the most intense live moments in television history. Emma Watson came to talk about her new project, yet what she found waiting for her was nothing short of an ambush. If you thought you'd seen celebrity meltdowns before, buckle up. This clash between Emma and Ellen DeGeneres wasn't just fiery. It was a full-blown battle of pride, past convictions, and the definition of authenticity, all under the unrelenting gaze of millions of viewers. The cameras rolled, and the Ellen Show studio audience cheered as Emma Watson walked on stage, her confident British grace muted just slightly by the thick tension in the air. She wore a tailored pantsuit and an easy smile, shaking hands with the co-hosts as the applause settled. She sat at the guest chair, nodding warmly to the other guests before her gaze finally fell on Ellen DeGeneres, whose grin already carried a hint of something sharper. "Welcome back to the show," Ellen began, leaning into her microphone with a glint in her eye. "We're joined today by actress and activist Emma Watson, who's here to discuss her latest film and campaign." The faint pause after campaign didn't go unnoticed. Emma kept her smile polite. "Thanks, Ellen. Always a pleasure to be here." Ellen's head tilted slightly, the corners of her lips curling. "Oh, I bet it is," she said, her voice edged with sarcasm. "You know, Emma, you've had quite a career. Would you call yourself an accomplished actress?" The audience chuckled nervously. Emma blinked, caught slightly off guard, but refusing to flinch. "Well, I have been fortunate," she said evenly. "I've worked hard, and I'm proud of the projects and causes I've been part of." Ellen's laugh, loud and dismissive, cut through the room. "Hard work or just playing the same intellectual activist in every movie? Because honestly, if you've seen one Emma Watson performance, you've seen them all." The room went quiet. Emma's jaw tightened ever so slightly, but she kept her composure, folding her hands on the table. "Well, Ellen," she said with quiet resolve, "I'd argue each character has depth if you're paying attention." "Oh, I pay attention," Ellen shot back. "I just haven't seen any depth. I mean, your characters are either strong-willed academics, compassionate rebels, or brave witches. At some point, you've got to admit you're just playing yourself." The other co-hosts shifted in their chairs uncomfortably. "Ellen," one began, but Ellen waved her off. Emma straightened slightly, looking her directly in the eye. "If that's your opinion, you're entitled to it," she said, "but I think the millions of people who watch my films and find something in them to relate to might disagree." "Ah, yes, the relatable every woman," Ellen sneered, air quoting with her fingers. "Only this every woman also owns mansions in London and wears $1,000 designer clothes. How's that for relatable?" Emma finally allowed herself a small chuckle, though her eyes betrayed her growing irritation. "I haven't forgotten where I came from, Ellen," she said. "You can be successful and still stay true to your roots." Ellen's expression hardened, her voice sharpening. "Oh, please, you're as Hollywood as they come. You make millions pretending to struggle while real people out there actually do. You don't speak for real people. You left that behind years ago." At this, the audience fell silent again. Emma took a deep breath, her British accent creeping into her words. "Now that's a hell of an assumption, Ellen," she said. "You don't know me, and you sure as hell don't know what I came from." Ellen leaned back, arms folded smugly. "Maybe not," she said, "but I know what I see, and what I see is a woman who cashed in her intellectual cred for a big paycheck and forgot what it means to actually have to fight for something." Emma's hands clenched under the table, though her face remained impassive. "You've got a lot to say about me, Ellen," she said slowly, "but it sounds more like you're talking about yourself." The audience gasped softly, and Ellen's cheeks flushed red. She sat forward, her voice growing sharper. "Oh, trust me, Emma. We'll get to me. But right now, we're talking about you, and I'm not done yet." Emma leaned back slightly in her chair, her eyes narrowing just enough to reveal the storm brewing beneath the surface. "Neither am I," she replied evenly. The stage was set, the battle lines drawn, and as the commercial break loomed, every single person in the studio and every viewer at home knew they were about to witness something unforgettable. The lights came back up, and the camera started rolling again. Emma sat with her hands clasped, the faintest tension in her jawline. Ellen DeGeneres leaned forward now, her expression gleaming with a mix of defiance and something close to glee. The other hosts sat quietly, clearly uncomfortable, their eyes darting between Ellen and Emma, like they were watching two lions circling each other. Ellen didn't waste a second. "So, Emma," she began, her tone almost sweet but laced with poison, "this new movie of yours, let me guess, another principled intellectual with a chip on her shoulder. Or did you finally branch out and play a principled intellectual in a different outfit?" The audience snickered nervously. Emma smiled faintly, but it didn't quite reach her eyes. "That's cute, Ellen," she said. "But if you'd actually watched the film instead of just reading the press notes, you'd know it's about redemption. About a woman trying to make things right." "Ah, redemption," Ellen said mockingly, clapping her hands together dramatically. "How fitting, since your entire career has been about you trying to redeem yourself for what you did before Hollywood bailed you out." The words hit the air like a whip crack. Emma's back stiffened, but she didn't rise to it. Not yet. She stared at her evenly, her voice calm. "You want to talk about my past? Fine. I've made mistakes. I've owned them. I've worked my ass off to make something better of my life." Ellen pounced on that. Owned them or just swept them under the rug while flashing that charming smile for the cameras? Because to me, it looks like the same old Emma Watson in a nicer suit. Emma's lips tightened into a stro-eyed line. "You really enjoy tearing people down, don't you?" Ellen leaned back smugly. "I enjoy calling out hypocrisy when I see it. You pretend to be this champion for the little guy, but at the end of the day, you're just another millionaire who made her money pretending to care." The audience murmured uneasily. Emma's hand tapped the arm of her chair once before she folded it in her lap again. Her voice remained quiet, measured. "You don't know me, Ellen. You don't know what I do when the cameras aren't rolling. And you sure as hell don't know what I care about." "Oh, but I do," Ellen countered, her voice rising now, her Brooklyn edge cutting through. "You care about box office numbers. You care about image. You care about keeping your name relevant by playing the same intellectual over and over because you're too scared to take a real risk." Emma finally let out a humorless laugh, shaking her head. "You know what's funny?" she asked. "You sit here every day and preach about kindness and equality and progress, but the minute someone disagrees with you or doesn't fit into your little narrative, you treat them like garbage." That landed. Even the other hosts raised their eyebrows at that one, but Ellen didn't flinch. "Better garbage than a fraud," she shot back, leaning forward across the table. Emma's eyes narrowed slightly, though her voice stayed even. "Is that what you think I am? A fraud? Because I've worked my entire life to prove otherwise." Ellen slammed her hand on the table. "Oh, please. You think you've worked your entire life playing pretend for millions of dollars while real people, the ones you claim to speak for, actually struggle? You're a Hollywood creation, Emma, nothing more." Emma's fists curled on the table now, her knuckles white, though she kept her tone controlled. "You can say what you want about me, but don't you dare disrespect the people who've supported me," she said. "The same people you talk down to every day." Ellen's laugh was sharp, cruel. "Oh, don't flatter yourself. Nobody supports you. They support the idea of you because it's easier than admitting you're just another privileged woman who got lucky." The tension in the studio was so thick now it was hard to breathe. Even the camera seemed to tremble as they zoomed in on Emma's face. Her jaw tight, her eyes dark. She leaned forward slightly, her words deliberate. "You've got a lot of opinions about me, Ellen," she said. "But here's the thing. You don't actually want to hear anything real. You just want to win." Ellen leaned in, matching her. "Oh, Emma, you don't get it. I already have." That smug smile was the final spark. Emma sat back in her chair, letting the silence hang between them like a storm cloud ready to burst. Her nostrils flared slightly as she exhaled, her eyes fixed on hers. The co-host finally spoke, her voice tentative. "Maybe we should move on to the film," she said, but neither of them even blinked. Ellen's smile was sweetly, but her eyes were full of fire. "Oh no, we're just getting started." And Emma's faint smirk, equal parts incredulous and dangerous, said it all. "You're right," she'd murmured. "We are." The studio felt like it was holding its breath. Even the audience, packed shoulder to shoulder, was dead silent now, their eyes darting back and forth between Emma and Ellen, like spectators at a prize fight. Emma adjusted her jacket cuffs slowly, almost ceremoniously, before resting her hands back on the table. Her jaw was tight, but her voice stayed steady. "You really enjoy this, don't you?" she said at last, her tone sharp, but controlled. "Enjoy what?" Emma asking the questions nobody else is brave enough to ask. Ellen replied, her smirk deepening. "No," Emma shot back, leaning forward somewhat down him. "Enjoy humiliating people. You don't care about the truth. You care about getting your little applause lines. You care about making yourself look clever at someone else's expense." The audience murmured in agreement, in dissent, the tension bubbling over now. Ellen scoffed and waved her hand dismissively. "Please spare me the wounded tough girl act. You're an actress, Emma. You're good at pretending, but you don't scare me." "Good," Emma said, leaning back, her voice low. "Because you don't impress me." The jab landed, Ellen's nostrils flared as she straightened in her chair. "You know what your problem is?" she asked. "You've spent so much time being told how great you are. You actually believe it." Emma tilted her head, her lips curling into the faintest of smiles. "You know what your problem is?" she replied. "You've spent so much time tearing other people down that you've forgotten how to stand for something yourself." That one clearly cut deep. Ellen sat back for half a second, her eyes narrowing before she leaned back in. "Cute line," she sneered. "But let's talk about what you really stand for. Mediocre movies, forgettable performances in a career propped up by your celebrity and your accent." The crowd gasped, even the other co-hosts winced. Emma's jaw tightened further, but she stayed seated, her voice calm. "That's rich coming from someone whose entire career has been sitting here throwing stones at people who are actually out there doing something," she said. Ellen barked a harsh laugh. "Doing what? Playing make-believe, pretending to be a hero, while real people like me, actually fight for something." Emma shook her head slowly. "You're confusing fighting for something with fighting everyone." The audience erupted into applause at that. A few even stood up clapping, but Ellen didn't flinch. She leaned closer, her voice dropping into a venomous hiss. "You think that little speech earns you points? Please. Your whole career has been one long Oxford Street hustle, just polished up for Hollywood." Emma's eyes flickered dangerously now, the only visible crack in her composure so far. She set her palms flat on the table and leaned in so close she could see the steel in Ellen's gaze. "Say what you want about me," she said quietly. "But don't you dare insult the people I grew up with. You wouldn't last a day where I'm from." Ellen smirked, clearly thinking she had the upper hand. "Oh, what are you going to do, Emma? Take me outside? Show me how smart you really are? Maybe give me a lecture on the good old days?" Emma exhaled sharply through her nose, shaking her head. "That's the difference between you and me, Ellen. You think strength is about shouting the loudest or getting the last word, but real strength is keeping your dignity when someone like you is trying to take it away." The words landed so heavily even the camera seemed to pause, waiting for her response. Ellen's lips curled into a cruel smile. "Oh, Emma, you've already lost your dignity. You're just too arrogant to notice." The silence that followed was deafening. Even the studio lights seemed hotter now, the tension so thick it felt like a physical weight pressing on everyone. Emma straightened her jacket slowly, her face a mask of calm, though her eyes burned with quiet fury. Then she spoke, her voice low but clear. "You know what? You're not worth it." Ellen's smile faltered just for a second before she snapped. "Oh, running away now, typical." But Emma just shook her head and stood slowly, the sound of her chair scraping the floor echoing through the silent room. "Not running," she said flatly. "Walking away with my self-respect." The audience gasped, then broke into uneven applause. Some for her, some against, but all riveted. Ellen leaned back, crossing her arms triumphantly. But there was a flicker of something uneasy in her eyes now, as though she realized she might have gone too far. Emma stood still for a beat, looking around the studio, then down at her. "You've shown everyone who you really are," she said simply. "And so have I." And with that, she turned toward the wings and began to walk off, the cameras following her every step of the way. Emma's footsteps echoed through the studio as she moved toward the edge of the set. She didn't rush. She didn't look back. Every stride was deliberate, measured, as if each step was part of a statement all on its own. Behind her, the studio was a storm of murmurs and nervous laughter, the audience trying to make sense of what they just witnessed. Ellen sat stiffly in her chair, arms crossed, her lips pressed into a thin line. Her smirk was gone now, replaced with a strange expression that betrayed something between anger and regret. Emma paused just before reaching the curtain. Slowly, she turned back to face the audience one last time. The camera zoomed in on her face, calm, yet her eyes still burning with a quiet fire. "I came here today," she began, her voice carrying clearly over the hushed crowd, "to talk about my work, to share something I believe in. I was ready for tough questions. I was ready for disagreement. But what I wasn't ready for was cruelty disguised as journalism." Ellen flinched at the word cruelty, though she tried to mask it with a dismissive roll of her eyes. Emma continued, taking another step toward the center of the stage so her words could reach everyone watching at home. People tune in here expecting honesty, a real conversation. Instead, what they get is someone using their platform to tear people down, to embarrass them, to score cheap points at someone else's expense. The audience erupted, some clapping loudly in support, others too stunned to react. A few even rose to their feet. Emma let the reactions settle before delivering her final words. "You don't have to like me. You don't even have to respect me. But don't ever think that your job gives you the right to treat people like they're beneath you. That's not journalism. That's just bullying with better lighting." Ellen's mouth opened as if to respond, but no sound came out. Emma nodded once, almost as if to herself, then turned and walked the final few steps to the curtain. As she disappeared into the wings, the crowd broke into full applause, some standing, some shouting her name. Backstage, Emma's publicist and a pair of stunned producers stood frozen. She brushed past them with nothing more than a polite "thank you," her face calm once more. On stage, Ellen sat silently, staring at her hands. The other co-hosts exchanged uneasy glances, clearly shaken. One finally broke the silence with a strange smile. "Well, we'll be right back after this break," she said. But everyone in the room and everyone watching at home knew there was no coming back from what had just happened. Minutes after the cameras stopped rolling, social media exploded. Clips of the confrontation flooded Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Hashtags like #EmmaVsEllen, #WatsonWalkout, and #IsEllenOK began trending within hours. Fans and critics alike dissected every line, every gesture. People picked sides, some praising Ellen for being fearless, others hailing Emma as the embodiment of grace under fire. But one thing was clear: the tide of public opinion was swinging hard in Emma's favor. Headlines blared. "Emma Watson walks out on The Ellen Show and wins the room." "Ellen DeGeneres faces backlash after brutal interview." "Watson calm, collected, and done with the circus." Even former guests and celebrities chimed in online, many defending Emma's composure and criticizing Ellen's aggressive tactics. Later that evening, Emma posted a brief statement on her social media. "It's okay to disagree. It's okay to challenge someone, but it's never okay to humiliate them. Everyone deserves respect, even when you don't see eye to eye. Thank you to everyone who reached out. I'm proud to stand for what I believe in and to walk away when necessary." It racked up millions of likes within hours. Ellen, for her part, remained silent, the silence louder than any defense she could have offered. And so the curtain fell not just on an interview, but on one of the most dramatic, unforgettable moments in daytime television history. The day Emma Watson walked onto The Ellen Show, kept her cool as long as she could, and then walked out, not defeated, but victorious. What do you think? Did Emma handle it the right way? Did Ellen go too far? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this story, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more incredible behind-the-scenes showdowns and untold celebrity moments. Stay tuned because the next story is just around the corner.